Dustin shocked me because we were shooting a scene.
Look, you're gonna have to do what you're gonna have to do, and I'm gonna have to do what
I'm very sorry about this.
My wine glass was sitting there, and he just, with his hand, brushed it so that it whizzed by my nose and broke on the wall and little pieces of glass.
For nearly 50 years, Meryl Streep built a reputation as Hollywood's calm, untouchable legend. No public feuds, no messy drama, just awards, respect, and silence. But at 76, she surprised everyone with rare honesty. She admitted there were actors she didn't just clash with, she truly disliked working with them. These weren't small names, they were major stars, icons people assumed she admired. And when she finally explained why, it changed how many fans saw those collaborations forever. Let's start with Alec Baldwin. For Streep, acting is controlled and carefully constructed. She studies every line, every pause, every emotional beat. Precision matters. Baldwin, on the other hand, is known for instinct. He improvises. He rewrites lines mid-scene. He follows the moment. When they worked together in It's Complicated, director Nancy Meyers likely expected their styles to complement each other. Instead, it reportedly created quiet tension. Crew members sensed it early on. Streep would prepare intensely for a scene, only for Baldwin to shift the rhythm without warning. She never caused a public scene, but after one rehearsal was interrupted by sudden changes, she was heard saying, "Comedy has to be grounded in truth, otherwise it's just noise." To her, structure protected the emotional core. To him, freedom created magic, and that difference made their partnership far more complicated than the title suggested. Baldwin saw things differently. He reportedly brushed off her structured style, once saying, "Truth happens in the moment. If you rehearse it to death, it dies." That pretty much summed up their divide. Years later, Streep kept it diplomatic, simply stating, "We had different philosophies." For someone known for careful words, that spoke volumes. Baldwin joked about it publicly, even saying, "Oh, Meryl hated me, absolutely, but I was having too much fun." Still, behind the humor, he admitted they never truly clicked. The tension never exploded into a public feud. No shouting matches, no headlines, but they never worked together again. At events, they remain polite, in interviews, respectful, yet creatively, they stand worlds apart. Now, Kevin Kline. For Streep, acting is serious craft. Months of research, total immersion, every detail carefully built from the inside out. Kevin Kline, on the other hand, has often leaned into instinct. He moves freely through scenes, letting energy and impulse guide him. When they starred in Sophie's Choice in 1982, audiences saw brilliance, two powerful actors delivering unforgettable performances. On screen, the chemistry felt natural, but behind the scenes, their approaches were very different. Streep prepared intensely for the role. She studied Holocaust survivor accounts, worked closely on dialect, and carefully shaped Sophie's emotional depth. For her, nothing could be casual about that story. It required control, respect, and precision.
For Sophie's Choice, Streep went all in. She learned both Polish and German, believing Sophie's shifting voice was key to understanding her trauma. The accent wasn't cosmetic, it was emotional truth. During one rehearsal, Kevin Kline reportedly stopped and asked, "Are you sure the audience cares more about your vowel sounds than what she's feeling?" For Streep, that wasn't a simple question. It cut deep. To her, the voice was the feeling, the loss, the identity fracture, the pain. That comment exposed how differently they viewed the craft. After the film, Kline described her method in an interview as a bit academic. He may not have meant harm, but for someone who poured herself into the role, it landed badly. According to crew members, things shifted after that. Professional, yes. Warm, no. Kline later brushed it off lightly. "Meryl likes to prepare. I like to leap." He framed it as style differences. Streep never publicly escalated anything, but she also never worked with him again. Despite multiple opportunities over the years, they were never reunited on screen. At industry events, the distance between them was polite and clear. Now, Jack Nicholson. Some Hollywood tensions never explode, they just simmer quietly for decades. The reported cold distance between Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson is one of those stories. For years, studios tried to cast them together. On paper, it looked perfect. Nicholson's bold, magnetic presence paired with Streep's precision and emotional depth. Producers believed it would be cinematic gold. But early discussions reportedly went nowhere. The issue wasn't talent, it was philosophy. Streep has long treated acting as responsibility, serious, researched, disciplined. Nicholson, known for his swagger and unpredictability, once joked in an interview that intense preparation was intellectual masturbation. That attitude alone says everything about why their creative paths never truly aligned. Nicholson's comments spread fast through Hollywood. For many, it was just Jack being Jack, bold, unpredictable, unapologetic. But for Streep, it struck deeper. She had built her career on discipline, research, and total commitment to character. Hearing preparation mocked felt like a dismissal of everything she stood for. One person who attended a studio meeting later said the moment was subtle but clear. Meryl's face didn't change, but the room shifted. Nicholson reportedly brushed it off, even joking to a friend, "She's brilliant, but a little tightly wound." That didn't smooth things over. Casting insiders later described the divide simply: they represented opposite ideas of stardom. From that point on, Streep quietly declined projects that included Nicholson. No drama, no public statements, just a firm decision. Even major studio offers couldn't change her mind.
Now Dustin Hoffman. When they worked together on Kramer vs. Kramer, the contrast in styles was even sharper. Streep approached acting with care and emotional precision. Every pause meant something, every reaction was deliberate. For her, acting required trust between scene partners. Hoffman followed a more intense, method-driven path. He believed in pushing emotional boundaries to get authentic reactions. He once said, "You can't fake reality, you have to force it." On that set, those two philosophies collided, and the tension became part of Hollywood legend. The most talked about moment between Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman happened early in the filming of Kramer vs. Kramer. During an intense scene, Hoffman suddenly slapped her, without rehearsal and without warning. It wasn't in the script. For Hoffman, it was about creating raw realism. For Streep, it crossed a line. Crew members later described the set going completely silent. Streep didn't explode, she didn't storm off, she froze. Years later, she reflected on it calmly, saying, "That was overstepping, that was not acting." No drama in her tone, just clarity. The tension didn't fade. Hoffman continued to improvise heavily, raising his voice unexpectedly and changing the emotional rhythm of scenes. Director Robert Benton reportedly had to balance two very different energies, Streep's precision and Hoffman's intensity. The film became a critical success. Both actors won Oscars. On screen, it looked like magic. Off-screen, it was complicated. When asked about the experience years later, Streep described it as professionally productive but personally difficult. Hoffman, in later interviews, acknowledged he may have pushed too far at times, saying, "I was trying to help the scene," but the partnership never happened again. Now Gwyneth Paltrow. What reportedly unsettled Streep wasn't conflict, it was something else, the perception of depth, the kind of modern fame built not just on acting, but on branding, image, and a carefully managed persona. To someone who views acting as craft above all else, that difference in approach can feel like a cultural shift in Hollywood itself.
For Meryl Streep, acting was never about glamour. It was work, serious, disciplined, earned step by step. So when Gwyneth Paltrow rose quickly in the 1990s, some insiders say Streep saw more than just a rising star. She saw a shift in Hollywood itself. Paltrow came from a well-known industry family. Doors opened early, major roles followed fast. The spotlight found her almost instantly. While the industry praised her elegance and presence, Streep stayed publicly silent, and that silence did not go unnoticed. One longtime acquaintance once described Streep's private frustration as being about effort versus image. To her, awards should honor depth and labor, not momentum or marketing. That tension reportedly peaked during the Oscars when Paltrow won Best Actress for Shakespeare in Love. The same year, Streep was nominated for One True Thing. Streep smiled for the cameras, professional as always, but those close to her said she viewed that award season as heavily influenced by campaigning and publicity. From then on, observers noticed distance. At events, their interactions were polite but brief. Streep often publicly praised actresses known for intense preparation and transformation, but rarely mentioned Paltrow. Paltrow, for her part, consistently spoke respectfully about Streep, calling her the greatest. Still, insiders sensed a chill that never quite thawed. Now Jeremy Irons. On paper, their collaboration should have been flawless.
two highly trained, deeply respected actors known for intelligence and precision. But sometimes similar strengths create friction. Streep approaches characters like emotional archaeology, digging into history, trauma, voice, and detail. She has said, an accent isn't performance, it's biography. Every layer matters to her. Irons, by contrast, is known for restraint, controlled, measured, elegant. He builds performances like sculpture, clean lines, sharp edges, nothing excessive. At first, it was just artistic difference, but over time, that difference reportedly turned colder. One rehearsal reportedly became unforgettable for the crew. Streep had been carefully shaping her character's accent, adding cultural detail to every word. Jeremy Irons listened, then calmly asked, "It's very technical. Don't you think the audience will care more about the feeling than the phonetics?" To him, it may have sounded harmless. To Streep, it questioned the core of her craft. A crew member later said, "You could feel the air change." She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply went quiet. And from that moment, something shifted. Irons favored control and restraint. Streep believed in emotional excavation. Their scenes reportedly felt less like collaboration and more like quiet standoffs, two powerful techniques colliding in the same frame. One assistant director described it best. They were in the same scene, but in two different worlds. Years later, Irons kept it diplomatic, saying, "We simply approach things differently. She digs inward, I build outward." Streep, without naming him, once remarked in an interview, "Some actors mistake restraint for depth, stillness for truth." Industry insiders connected the dots. They remained professional, always polite, but they never worked together again. And that may be the most surprising part of all. Even one of the most respected actresses of her generation had quiet creative battles that shaped her choices behind the scenes. Different styles, different philosophies, strong personalities. Sometimes greatness doesn't clash loudly, it just moves in separate directions. Which of these reported tensions surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dive Hollywood stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.